So this time's idea was to make a Roomba for my desk that would just go around cleaning my desk, and the sensors would keep it from bumping into things and like falling off of the table. So as you can see, this is how I built it like at the start. So I was deciding what sensors to use and what not. And then I thought that color sensor would be basically my main sensor. So I was just playing around, taking off the sensors, putting them on, deciding what to use. Because my robot was meant to be a battle robot, I have many places around my robot where I can put things. So I decided to put the color sensor at the front of the robot because my robot is going to be moving forward in this configuration for my desk. So I decided to place my color sensor at the front. For my not finalized robot design, I decided to focus on 3 main sensors, and the touch sensor was there for backup if I needed to use it. The color sensor, the ultrasonic sensor, and the infrared sensor. So because I'm a nerd, I have a cable management rack for my EV3 robot, like where I stuff all my cables through. So I figured that I have this cleaning thing that I used to clean my desk, and I can just like stuff it under in the cable management area. So the robot has a color sensor here, a touch sensor that we're not going to use here, an infrared sensor, and an ultrasonic sensor. So in the color sensor, this is the LED. The LED reflects light onto the surface that the robot is driving on, so that the light can be bounced back up onto the color sensor's basically sensor, the circle above that. The sensor captures the reflection, and then that's how the sensor knows what color it is, by capturing the reflection displayed by the little LED light. So when the color sensor goes a little off of the table, then the LED light is reflecting onto the ground. But the sensor can't capture that far, and the LED light can't reflect that far. And that's why the input in the color sensor is no color, and that's how I'm able to program the color sensor to like tell the robot to move back when it's on the edge of the table. My robot is right there, so that like when the robot starts, the color sensor will like guide it so it doesn't fall off of the table. And when the color sensor is like going a little bit off of the table, then it'll tell the robot to like stop and like go backwards, because that's what's gonna happen in the program. And then the infrared sensor should be sensing forward, and the ultrasonic sensor on the other side will sense like the walls on the side of it, so that it can keep safe from those two. Okay, so the color sensor senses the edge, and it'll keep going forward, and it's basically stuck here because nothing is being detected. So I came to the final conclusion that I can put it up here, and okay, it goes off the edge, detects it going off the edge. Then the ultrasonic detected it nearing the wall, and then this detected it here. So it can keep going forward. Okay, the color sensor detects it. Okay, ultrasonic detects it. So finally, no. So then Infrared sensor detects the wall, and when the infrared sensor can't detect the wall, the color sensor is there to save it. Okay, so this is by far the hardest program I've ever done. So what's being done here is that, okay, there's a play block, there's a loop block, and we have three sensors. The ultrasonic sensor, the color sensor, and the infrared sensor. In this case, the color sensor is the most important sensor. It's the one that's being used the most, and the robot could like barely survive without it. It's what keeps it from falling off of the table. So the robot just goes normally, just keeps just going forward at 21 speed. And if the color sensor detects black, it'll just keep doing the same thing, going forward. But if it detects no color, which would happen when the color sensor's LED reflects no light onto the sensor can't capture any light because the color sensor is over the table. So that would bring an input of no color. Then the robot would move forward, backwards like this, and it would have an error alarm. So let's go on to the next most important sensor, which is the ultrasonic sensor. So when the robot approaches like the corners of the tables, I don't want the robot to get like stuck there and just keep pushing forward on it or something. So what we have here is for the ultrasonic, if the ultrasonic sensor's reading is greater than 7 centimeters, I think. Yeah, centimeters. Then it'll do nothing. But if it's less, that means that if it's less than 7, then it'll go backwards and it'll turn like so. And it'll make this ratchet noise. So there's a different noise for each one, so I know what sensor is being used. So that's how the ultrasonic goes. And then comes the infrared sensor. The infrared sensor, same thing. When it's checked, then it's doing nothing. And I assume this is probably centimeters or whatever. I just tweaked it and it works and stuff like that. So okay, if the infrared sensor's reading is greater than 30 centimeters, then it'll just keep going forward. But if it's not, then it'll turn backwards this much, and it's gonna be this laser sound will play. And this is all in a loop, so this just keeps going. So that's how I made it, the program for it.